had hoped, I guess, that we would be the perfect family. But sometimes I feel like he was two different people. When he was a nice person, he was a very sweet guy. He would do anything for you. When he was the other way, he was just awful. I should have been scared of him. I should have been more scared than I was. It's hard to believe that he would do something like that. Like, how could you do that? This picture was after he had gone to prison. Physically, he looks like a different man, but he's not. This is the evil person that I remember him as. This too is Jim in prison. He still says he didn't do it. Still to this day. I thought that he was the perfect family man and that everybody was happy and everybody was getting along and we were a family. Looking at the picture, you don't see how evil is. He's smiling, he looks normal there, but I lived through it. I met Jim at a country bar in North Lima. I just remember laughing and having a good time and dancing and, we had a few drinks and it was just a wonderful time. He was just the nicest guy. He took my number and we went out, we went to movies, we went dancing, and he was just great. He was a gentleman. I fell in love with him. He treated me like a princess. He asked me to marry him. I had children from a first marriage, and I was very eager for them to have a father figure in their life. I just felt like he was going to be there and he was going to take care of us all. Kariana was born the year after we got married, and the twins were born 2 years later. He was a great husband. He was a great father. He was very much in love with his children. We did everything as a family. It was a fun time. Happy time.
Thank you so much, Mom. Kids are gonna love them.
We didn't have a lot of money. Jim made probably the biggest part of our income being a truck driver. But my mother, she would always buy the kids stuff. And one day he just got really, really upset with my parents.
No. It's really helpful because we haven't had a lot of money this year.
My mom had gone shopping and she had bought the kids clothes. And he just became angry.
No, blue's her favorite color. She's gonna absolutely love it.
Give me the phone.
Hold on, I'm talking to my mom.
Now.
And he told her, I don't want you to buy them anything anymore.
I can take care of my own family.
I was very upset about that because, those are my mom's only grandkids. If she wants to buy them something, who are we to say you can't do that?
Stay away from my kids. Stay away from my wife. And stay the hell away from me.
He just got very nasty about it. He said they don't deserve anything and I don't want your mom buying anything more. If I wanted to buy them something, I'll buy it. Jim worked as a truck driver, and the way that his work schedule was, he was only home like on Wednesdays and on the weekends. He was gone most of the time. I missed him, but it wasn't, like something that I couldn't handle.
I'll call you in a couple of days, okay?
You better.
He would call and check and make sure that we were all okay. We would talk for a few minutes, and then he would hang up. We came home and the phone was shut off.
What's wrong with this thing?
He didn't pay the phone bills, and we didn't have a phone.
Something like
He just didn't pay the bill for it. And I said, why did you not pay the phone bill? And he said, we don't need that anymore.
You don't need to be communicating with anyone other than me.
I think that the reason that he didn't pay the phone bill was because my friends would come over when he wasn't there or whatever, and he didn't like that. He didn't want anybody there. And he didn't want me to have any contact with anybody else. He didn't want me talking to my parents. He didn't want me talking to my friends. And he did not let me go out and meet friends. So pretty much, I was isolated. I wasn't able to go anywhere, and I wasn't able to talk to anybody. He wanted us to be alone. When he would come home, a lot of times I would wake up in the middle of the night and he would be gone. And I'd look for his truck and his truck was gone. We never really talked about his life on the road, only he drove so many miles, so I was suspicious of what he was doing out there. And he didn't want me to have any contact with him. When he was out on the road, he was in another life. Usually when Jim was home, he spent a lot of time out in the shed. He was always doing something out there. I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention. It was like a man thing. I was usually in the house cleaning or doing whatever I had to do, taking care of kids. It was like his place to go. I had no idea what he was up to in the shed.
Why don't you give me a break?
I knew something was going on, but I wasn't quite sure what. I guess I never really thought that he would ever harm anybody. One day he came in from work and he dropped his bag on the floor and he went in to take a shower. And I went in to take the dirty clothes out of his bag, and I found condoms.
What are these?
And I said to him, what are you doing with these in this bag? And he goes, oh, I'm holding them for a friend. And I'm thinking, yeah, really, that's the best story you could tell about that?
I would never do that to you. I love you.
I knew something was going on, but I wasn't quite sure what.
Stop being so paranoid.
I thought that he probably was seeing somebody when he was out on the road. But I guess I wanted to believe that everything was okay and that he was honest in the things that he said. This tape was a tape that my daughter Jennifer found on top of our bed. I received a call at work from Jenny, and she said, I can't believe that you would make a tape like that and leave it where someone could see it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she described what was going on the tape. And I said, Jenny, you know what? I said, just put it back where you found it till I get home. I went home that evening and I watched the video. And I was just like, wow, what is this? It was my girlfriend and Jim having sex. I was devastated. I could not believe that he would be doing something like that. I waited for Jim to come in off of the road, and I asked him about it. And he said it wasn't him. I said, how can you say it wasn't you? I said, how stupid do you think that I am? I should have realized that this wasn't going to work, and I should have just cut my losses. But I didn't. I had hoped that we would be the perfect family. And the first few years of life, we did get along as a family.
Stop trying to convince me that it's not you.
But, you know, after that, it was all downhill.
All I do is repeat myself.
We got into an argument over something. I don't even remember at this point what it was. That he just became somebody that he wasn't.
What's the matter with you? What are you, stupid?
He belittled me. I was fat. I needed to lose weight. You know, you're a whore and you're, whatever comes out of his mouth, you're just supposed to take. It was so bad that it's like you didn't even want to be in the same house that he was in.
Is that too much to ask?
Sometimes I feel like he was two different people. When he was a nice person, you couldn't want for anything more. He was a very sweet guy. He would do anything for you. When he was the other way, he was just awful. A lot of things go through your mind, but you don't say anything because you're too afraid to say anything. He got mad at me one day, and I can't remember even what he was upset about. And we got into it, and I probably yelled back, and he slapped me and knocked me over the chair. That was the first time I ever saw that type of a temper from him. I couldn't believe that he could do something like that. I did not fight back. I felt that it was better if he just didn't say anything. I thought, well, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I did something. And I was afraid of him, so I just put up with it. Then he walked out. He left. I became scared of him, knowing that he could become violent. I had never really seen that part of him, but he got very violent over time. I was scared. I was scared of him when he was home. He just became unbearable to live with. Became that kind of person. No one wanted to be around him. He made my life a living hell. But what was I going to do? I had all these kids. I figured I'm better off staying with him. Where am I going to go? There was no way that I could just up and leave. It was just myself or maybe one or two kids. You could go somewhere. But with 6 kids, where are you going to go? So it was better if I just put up with it. I guess I never really thought that he would ever harm anybody. said that would be a real good place to throw a body if you wanted to get rid of something.
I don't ask you for much. I sound like a broken record.
Most of the time when Jim lost his temper, everybody in the neighborhood could hear.
Stupid!
It was very hurtful. And it was very hurtful to watch him, the way that he talked to my kids. Jim hated Jenny. She was kind of bossy, and she was kind of rebellious. You know, she wouldn't put up with his crap. She would just tell him, hey, you're not my dad.
You gotta be kidding.
What?
What are you doing just sitting here?
I remember the time he was yelling at her over something that she had done, and she just started yelling back at him.
You'll do what I say. Get upstairs and clean your room.
I don't have to listen to you.
He started to threaten her. And I went out there and I'm like, both of you, please just stop. And he walked away and Jenny walked away. She was just so fed up with him that she didn't know what else to do. So Children's Services came out to the house. Never came back. Jim was furious. He was really mad at her that she would do something like that.
I got some stuff for you guys.
Jim sometimes would bring back trinkets or some kind of jewelry, clothes, you know, just anything that maybe he found somewhere and he thought that they might want. I can remember one day when Jim came in off the road.
Got you some.
Okay. He had a cassette recorder, and he gave this cassette recorder to Jenny. And it had this young girl's voice on it.
Hey everybody, this is Dawn.
The girl said her name was Dawn.
I met a boy at the truck stop with the dreamiest eyes.
And she was talking about the place where she lived. She was in a home for wayward kids.
But I just had to get out of there and be on my own. Nobody understands me there.
She was a runaway.
I'll be fine on my own. I can take care of myself.
And, you know, I never really thought anything of it. He said he found it laying out on the ground and he picked it up and brought it home to her. He would always say that he found it. And I just accepted that. One time he gave Lisa a book. It was about murder and how you get away with it. And she was very scared of it, you know, like, why would he give me something like this? And then she became very afraid of him. It sends a chill up your spine. I mean, why would you give something like that to a child? I can remember one time that we were on our way to Lake Erie and we stopped by a rest area to get a coffee or something. And there was like a lake around there on the one side.
You know what?
And he said, boy, he said, that would be a real good place to throw a body if you wanted to get rid of something. think anything of it. I just felt like he just said something stupid. I'm like, I'm sure he doesn't mean anything by that. You know, and we just left it go then.
Is everything okay?
No.
Jim had come home and he had told me that they had DNA tested him at work. I asked him why they had DNA tested him, and he said that there was something that happened in one of the trucks, and he's one of the drivers on that truck.
They're actually harassing everyone that used the truck in the last week.
He said that there was several people that they DNA tested that drove the truck. I didn't know why they were doing that, and he didn't tell me. It was no big deal, you know, nothing to worry about. So I didn't worry about it. Everything's fine. Okay. It's good enough for me. So I just let it go at that.
You want to just relax. Not a beer.
Okay. After the DNA testing, he became very violent at home, more so than he had been, and I was really afraid.
Jenny is back talking to me again.
I didn't want to be there by myself with the kids and him.
You better straighten him out. Or I will. Do you understand me? Yeah.
I was very scared of what he would do to my children. I was afraid that he would snap at one point and that he would hurt one of my kids. And then one day, I came home from work. Jim was out on the road, and I happened to open the case with the camera in it, looking for something. And I found the kids' birth certificates and the kids' social security cards. It did not contain any of the older kids' information. It was just his kids, the 3 little ones. I came to the conclusion that he was going to leave, take off, and take the little kids with him. I was afraid he was going to take my children. And I just decided that I had had enough. I needed to get out of there. For help. I left on a Thursday. We went down to the courthouse to get a protection order against him, and that's when they put me into protective custody. I figured if I take them and put them in protective custody, he can't get them. I knew at that point that I wasn't going to go back there. There was nothing that was going to make me go back there.
I was just calling to let you know that I'm fine. The kids are fine.
I wanted to at least let them know that we were safe and that we were okay, because we were good friends.
I had to go. I couldn't stay there anymore.
And he told me, he said, Sheila, you don't have to worry about it. And I'm like, why is that?
What are you talking about?
He goes, they arrested Jim yesterday. That's when I just like, what? I really did believe that they had the wrong person. I couldn't even stand to listen to it at that point. It's like, how could this happen? How could this happen? He said, Sheila, they arrested your husband today. They sent a SWAT team and they arrested him when he pulled in. That's when I just like, what?
SWAT team for what?
He said they sent 54 police there. They have him in custody. I'm like, well, what did they say he did? He killed a young girl. I'm like, you're kidding me. No, Sheila, I'm not kidding you. And I hung up and I started crying and I'm like, oh my gosh. We didn't have TV at this protective place, but I used to listen to K105.
Authorities brought in crews this morning.
I turned it on and they were talking about it.
The girl's half-naked body had been found in a snowbank back in March. The rope used to strangle the young woman was still tied around her neck.
I was shocked. It was very disturbing.
Signs of a struggle and rape were evident.
Like, I don't even want to hear this. I turned it off. I couldn't even stand to listen to it at that point. It's like, how could this happen? How could this happen?
The trial of James Robert Cruz began today. The courtroom was full of tension as witnesses were called to the stand.
The time this went to trial, I wanted to believe that he was innocent.
The neighbors of Mr. Cruz say he was the last person they would suspect of violence.
I really did believe that they had the wrong person. I mean, you know, I knew that he could be violent, but I never thought that it would lead to him doing something stupid like that. Never thought he was capable of murder.
Cruz denied ever even meeting the young girl.
You want to think that somebody that you lived with could not have done something like that. But after you hear the evidence,
The prosecution presented damning evidence.
there was a hair that matched Jim's in the rope that strangled her. And they found blonde hair that belonged to her on the door of the truck. That's when it all clicked back in my mind.
Cops were checking our trucks for DNA or something at work.
Wow, this is what the DNA testing was that he had done? I'm like, they didn't DNA test everybody, they DNA tested him. That's how they got him. They were talking about the young girl that he had killed. Her name was Dawn. And I remembered about the cassette player that he had given to Jenny.
I just had to get out of there and be on my own.
The girl said her name was Dawn on there.
Hey everybody, this is Dawn.
And I realized that was her stuff. He gave that to Jenny. And I knew he was guilty. After I saw the picture of the girl,
He run away, Dawn Marie Birnbaum.
I was like devastated. It really reminded me of Jenny. This is my daughter Jenny. She was probably around 16 at the time of this photo. This is Dawn. And when you look at this picture beside Jenny, they looked a lot alike. Their eyes, their face, their hair. Why did he kill that girl? Did he kill her because he thought it was Jenny? Jim hated Jenny. I was afraid that he would snap at one point and that he would have done that to Jenny eventually. Something had to have happened there, that he snapped and he thought it was Jenny and he choked her. He must have thought it was Jenny. I was so relieved just knowing that he wasn't going to be there anymore. I felt safe. I hadn't felt safe for a long time. But it's hard to believe that he would do something like that. How could you do that? How could you kill somebody? I mean, I felt very sad because she was so young. Like, how could you do that? I felt guilty because maybe if I would have done something earlier in that marriage when things were going on that weren't right, I would have spoke up and said something instead of being scared, being afraid of him, that maybe it would have helped and it wouldn't have gotten to the point where he killed people. We opened up the door and went in. I would have never ever in my lifetime thought that that kind of stuff would have been in my shed. To find out that he actually was guilty. That he actually was, they found him guilty of that. It was upsetting. How could you have done something to a 17-year-old? After Jim's trial, it was suggested that he may have killed other women all over the place. Places that he had been. Jim drove from the East Coast to the West Coast, down south, Maryland, Pennsylvania, out in Iowa. Wherever they needed to have stuff delivered is where he went. He would talk about when he was parked at the truck stops that hookers would come up to his door and they would knock on the door. All of the other women that he was suspected of murdering were hookers and prostitutes. And they all died by strangulation. And the reason that they felt that he had committed these was because the rope was the same, tied the same way, and these all stopped once he was arrested. We opened up the door and went in. I kind of just looked at Cherry and said, oh my gosh. The whole back of the shed was full of stuff. There was so much in there, it was unbelievable. I found books about murders of women, and I found rope that had been cut, but it was the same rope that had been used on Dawn. Like, I would have never ever in my lifetime thought that that kind of stuff would have been in my shed. That's when actually reality hit and I knew he was plotting murders. Why else would you keep that stuff there? So then that brought me back to the condoms that I found in his black bag. He must have had sex with all of these women before he killed them. Or after he killed them. And the gifts that he brought home, they probably were from women that they think that he may have murdered. Why would you bring that stuff home? And why would you do it to your daughter? We found stuff to make a bomb. I think that he was going to kill my 3 older kids and myself. He was going to take the little kids and he was going to blow up the house with Jenny, Jody, and I in it. And at that point I knew that I was lucky that he didn't kill us. He had already gotten life with no parole ever in the state of Pennsylvania, so there was really no use to prosecute him. But they actually think that he did commit those crimes. His job made it easy for him to do that and get away with it. He would always pick a fight before he left. In hindsight, it all made sense to me. If he was mad at me, he could go out there and he could unleash his anger on somebody else. But a lot of these signs I didn't see. Had I'm sure that I would have done things a lot differently. I should have left many years before that. In the very beginning, I didn't think that Jim was an evil person. I thought Jim was a loving person. After everything happened that happens in our life, I should have been scared of him. I should have been more scared than I was. I felt very lucky that the kids and I escaped with our lives because he was a dangerous, dangerous person. I'm just happy to be alive.